Saving accounts in the bank are a scam, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how someone should be managing their money across multiple different checking accounts to make sure you are as organized as possible. You can track your expenses the best way possible. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to draw for you exactly how I structure my business banking as well as my personal banking so that you can mimic the same structure in your life and hopefully be more organized in your expenses and track everything a lot better instead of just dumping money into a savings account where you can still see it on your screen every single time and they charge you fees just to remove the money out of the bank. What I like to do is I like to keep it all inside of multiple different checking accounts and distribute it based on how much is being spent. So I'm going to show you exactly how I distribute it so you can mimic the same exact banking setup in your bank, totally free. It takes you probably a few minutes to set up these accounts, and then you can do exactly what I do in my life so you can keep it as organized as possible. For the sake of this example, I have a business and this business is paying me $10,000 a month. Okay. So I have about $10,000 a month of income, just to keep this example super simple. And every single month, once a month, this business is paying my personal account $10,000. Now, the first thing I'm going to do as an American citizen is give money to my friend Uncle Sam. So basically immediately every single month, about a couple days after my deposit hits. So let's just say my deposit hits on the 1st every single month. On the 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever day you want, I'm going to take 30% of whatever that number is, and I'm going to put it in my tax account. Okay. I have an account and checking just for taxes because I know the following year as a business owner, I'm going to get taxed 30% plus of my income. And so I want to take that money out every single month just so I understand that it's not actually my money. I think a lot of people make the mistake of leaving that money in their account thinking they have a lot more money, and then March, April comes around the next year and then basically realize they don't have enough money to cover their taxes. And so I never want to be making decisions assuming that I have way more money than I do. I would rather assume I have less money than I do when I make the decision so I can make sure I make the right one. So for the sake of this example, 30% is going to be going to my tax account, which means 3K out of my 10K is going to be going into my actual tax checking account. Number 2, I'm going to have a car payments and insurance account. So for the sake of example, I'm going to say that I spend about $1,000 a month on my car as well as my insurance across the board. And so same thing as the taxes, automatically once a month, I'm going to have the car account get deposited with $1,000. So in this case, it's going to be 10% of my total money. And it's going to be $1,000 deposited every single month into my car account. Therefore, moving forward, every single payment I make for my car, every single payment I make for my insurance is all coming out of the same account. So I can always go back, I can track it. And this makes my life super easy instead of tracking all these different things inside of one account. It's nice to have my cars in a certain account as well as my rent or mortgage in its own account as well. So the third one that I'm going to be doing is exactly that, which is basically living cost. So my living costs are going to go into my third account. I'm going to say that I spend about $2,000 a month on rent or mortgages. So 2K right here, which is another 20% going into my living account. So far we have $10,000 that went from my business to my personal every month. And a few days later, that is getting dispersed into what is now 3 accounts. 30% is going to go into taxes automatically. Then I'm going to put whatever my car payment is. So for the sake of this example, it's going to be $1,000 car payment plus insurance. And then the third one is going to be my living expenses. So for the sake of this is going to be $2,000. So at this point, we have about $4,000 remaining out of the paycheck that we get every single month. Now, the remaining $4,000 I split into 3 different buckets. And here's exactly what the buckets are. The first bucket is what I call my investing account. So I take 30% of everything left after these monthly expenses and I put it into what I call my investing account. This is the account that I pull from to invest in Bitcoin, any crypto, as a matter of fact, any real estate, any business investments that I have, stocks that I want to buy. I just bought a ton of Microsoft a few months ago because they acquired OpenAI. So whenever I want to do stuff like that, it has to come out of my investing account. So that's why I put 30% of everything left over into my investing account so that I can keep all the money in one place where I know, hey, if I spend all of this money on an investment, I'm totally safe because all my other expenses are covered. And most importantly, all those taxes that I owe in the future are already deposited into their own account. So 30% of the actual 4K that's remaining will go into that account. So based on that, that's about $1,200 will go into my investing account. And then the second account that I'm going to deposit out of that 4K is what I call my fun account. So 20% of that 4K that's remaining is going to go into my fun account. So into the fun account, if 20% of that 4K is going in here, that means I will get about $800 deposited into my fun account. This is what I use for travel. And if I'm going to go out to a night with my friends, if I'm going to go out to dinner with friends, everything is basically coming out of my fun account at the end of the day. And that's kind of how I'm gauging it. And then what we have left over in that case is 50% of the $4,000. That is the $2,000. Okay. The $2,000 remaining is actually going to stay in my personal account. That's what actually stays in the account because I want to have stuff stuff in my personal account to pay off my credit cards, to pay off all the Amazon purchases I like to make, and kind of everything in between. The difference between the personal and the fun account is that the fun account is all for like external, excessive travel stuff. If I want to plan a trip with my friends, I'm going to look at my fun account to see how much money I have to be able to go and spend on a trip with my friends. Whereas my personal will be like things like just going out to a normal dinner, buying food on Uber Eats, getting lunch, just the typical stuff that I would normally do every single day. That's what the $2,000 left in my personal account is going to be. So to break this all down, I have $10,000 coming from my business to my personal. Out of that, 30% will automatically go to taxes, which will leave me with only 70% remaining to work with. So 7K out of the 10. Whatever it is for my car payment is going to go into that account. In this case, 1K. Whatever it is to live, rent and mortgage, whichever one I have, is going to go into my actual living account. So in this case, 2K. And then everything that's remaining will go into a different bucket. So the 4K in this case that's remaining will go into a different bucket. 30% of that will go into investing. 20% of that will go into fun. And 50% of that will stay in my personal account. And that is where I'll be building my personal account for the future. So if you use a system like this, it will not only keep you more organized, it will keep the money more dispersed. You will feel like you have less money, which creates the effect of you working harder as well, as opposed to putting all this money into the same account. You'll get a lot more comfortable, you'll work less hard, and then you'll only be shocked to realize that next year you owe 30% of all that money in that account, plus more sometimes because you overspent, to the actual government for taxes. If you live in the United States, if you live in Canada, it's even more. If you live in other countries, it might be less. Do whatever you can to automatically create these as deposits every single month, a few days after you actually make money, so that you can disperse your money into multiple different accounts and have everything being organized rather than sitting here and trying to manually guess what you owe for taxes every single year and realizing you come up short. And same for your monthly payments on your car and on your home. If all of that is taken care of before all your other fun and stuff like that, it's going to be very hard to make a mistake where you overspend on your money and you put yourself in a bad position. If you enjoyed this video and you got some value out of it, go ahead, hit the button below and subscribe as I create more content just like this to give you an insight on my life, how I manage my money, so that you can take the same principles and build your own personal wealth in your business and your personal life for the future to come. Go ahead, hit that button below, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.